Shri Banrab Jarwa, MPS, DSP City, and Mr. Anuj Bansali, Head Trust and Safety, PhonePe. First, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Banrab Jarwa, 2015 MPS. He's a topper of the batch, BTech Electronics and Communication Engineering from National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar, and then he did his MS in microelectronics from National University of Singapore. He has done work in research and development of FPGA-based device for implementation of AES algorithm at IIT Guwahati during his BTech. Further, he has also contributed to the development of nano semiconductor devices for utilization in optical device during this time. In field, police, he is involved. He was instrumental in the cracking of a cybercrime case way back in 2017, where 7 Nigerians and 1 Naga lady was involved. The next speaker for today, Mr. Anuj Bansali, Head of Trust and Safety at PhonePe. Anuj Bansali heads Trust and Safety at PhonePe. He oversees domains related to trust, identity, safety, security, with a focus on reducing risk exposure from transactional frauds, anti-money laundering, application security, and identity theft. He comes with over a decade's experience in payments and has been involved in building scalable platforms and products. He has been an integral part of PhonePe's journey, having joined the company as early as 2017. Prior to PhonePe, he worked at Flipkart as product manager for trust and safety and helped build products to detect and solve issues related to e-commerce such as fake reviews, return fraud, and seller frauds. He has also worked at Amazon, where he was involved in Junglee payments and Kindle content operations, among other responsibilities. He began his career at National Instrument in 2008. He holds a bachelor's rank in mechanical engineer from IIT Roorkee and an MBA from the National Institute of Industrial Engineering, Mumbai. Thank you both, sir, for joining us today. With further ado, I would first like to call upon our first speaker, Banrab Jarwa. He's my colleague and he will be taking the first topic. Ban, over to you.
About the different types of financial frauds that are happening. Without much delay, I'll start with a slide. There's a presentation that we have made to brief all the people who are attending this webinar and to make them aware. So in this short career that I've started with, we've come across various kinds of financial frauds happening in the cyber world. I'm listing out a few of them broadly, but it's not, this list is not exhaustive. The most common types of frauds we have seen is a CVV or OTP sharing fraud. I'll be discussing on each and every one of them as we go ahead. The UPI phishing fraud, fraud by requesting money or QR code or link on Google Pay or PhonePe or Paytm, fraud through a Google Docs app, fraud using OLX or the e-commerce platforms. Then there's the Amazon Pay or the gift certificate fraud, fraud through fake cashback offers, fraud through screen sharing apps, and the one which is again which is relatively new, the SIM card swapping fraud. Then we have also seen frauds happening through social media, fraud using a fake social media account, and there's now, which is very common, sextortion on Facebook, and the other which has affected a lot of people, especially in Shillong and in various parts of Meghalaya, which we call catfishing. Apart from these, the other types of frauds, there is the edited Google customer care number fraud, ransomware attacks, lottery fraud, the online job fraud, and the mobile application frauds. So I'll start with the first one, the CVV OTP sharing fraud. So as you can see, the most common type of fraud where fraudsters call impersonating as bank or RBI officials on the pretext of either updating your KYC or updating your Aadhaar card or activation of a new ATM card. There are various ways in which they attract your psyche and they're able to make you think, that the person who's calling is actually genuine. The victim falls for it, shares his ATM card number, shares his CVV number, and even shares the OTP that's received on the mobile. Immediately within seconds, the amount is then transferred to either e-wallets or they're transferred to uh, sites such as Amazon for shopping or any other UPI account. So what we generally try and make people aware is that never share your personal details, especially your banking details, card numbers, CVV numbers, OTP, and especially if any person is calling for it, banks will never call and ask for such details. And what we're seeing is that people are sharing their emails also. Please be very careful, because once you share your email, especially your username and passwords, it may lead to activation of internet banking, and then you may just lose whatever you have in your account. uh, so you see here, this is an example of the type of scams that are happening, where people they send such messages to make you believe that there's been a fraudulent transaction on your ATM. And this is actually a fraud SMS, making it look like a genuine SMS. And they'll tell you to call on this number. But when you call in this number, the next thing you know is you're giving your details away, and immediately there's a transaction happening. The next type of fraud which we have observed, which is becoming very common now because people are using a lot of UPI apps, for example, Google Pay or Phone Pay or Paytm. You have fraudsters who call people on the pretext of updating their KYC against similar, MOs, and then they send a particular link, convincing him to share this link on a particular number along with the OTP that's received. The moment you share this link, immediately the fraudsters are able to what we call duplicate your details that you have created on the UPI app, and then you lose the money. I'll show the example of such a message. For example, this is the kind of messages that they receive. Fraudsters will tell you that this is a message has just come from the bank. Please forward this message to a particular number, along with they'll ask for the details of your account. The moment you do this, they're able to replicate whatever details you have which you have created through your UPI app, and then transfer whatever amount you have in your account. Again, a very similar kind of fraud we have, where people request money either through a QR code or link on Google Pay or Phone Pay or Paytm. Again, a very similar MO. They call, in this case, they actually target a lot of businessmen, requesting them for to transfer money. The victim shares the registered mobile number and then receives a money request link. Now, people think that actually they are getting money, but then actually the person is requesting money from them. They don't go through the details properly, and as a result, the money is then transferred from their account, and he ends up losing the money. There is a small video on this. I think it's a small 3-minute video. I think we have the time for this, for people to just see. Mahesh, video. I think something is unable. Okay, I think we have a technical snag here, but the video mainly talks about, I think it'll be shown again in the later slides, the points where, the victims don't realize that instead of sending, I mean, they think they're receiving money, but then they send the money away. So I'll go ahead with the next kind of fraud. We have what we call Google Docs fraud, where cyber criminals, they send a link. Okay, they will send a message saying that you have to fill up this form on Google Docs, and they'll say that it's from the bank. And in this form, they'll ask for everything, from your name, your address, your details, your personal details, your bank related details, ATM numbers, UPI pins, everything. The victim thinks that he's actually sending this to the bank manager or to the customer care number, customer care platform to update his KYC. But in actual detail, he is actually giving away everything, and immediately money is withdrawn from his account. So whenever you get a link like this, I'll show an example like this. Okay, they create a message like this through normal messaging to say that your account is being blocked. You have not completed your KYC details. Please click on this link and update your details. So people without verification immediately click on that link, and the next thing you know, amount is withdrawn from their account. The other type of crime that we have seen is the fraud using OLX or e-commerce platforms. We have a lot of army or paramilitary personnel. When they are getting transferred, they post their details and they post things that they want to sell. So what these cyber criminals do is they get in touch with these army personnel and they get their details. For example, they'll get their ID cards, they'll get their names and places, where they're working. Then they morph that using Photoshop or any other software, and they use that to then you know uh, make other people fall in their trap. So they guise as these army personnel, saying that they're going to sell anything. It could be cars, it could be bikes, it could be phones, and people then actually believe that they are the actual army personnel, and then they start sending money. By the time they realize it, they've already lost a lot of money. And these people, it's not a one time thing. They will keep on the pretext of either GST or transportation charge or packaging charge, they will keep on asking for more and more money. We have seen a case especially this happened in Shillong, okay, where this person posed as somebody working in the Umroi cantonment. So the victim thought, the whole thing was presented as if he knows, he's working nearby Shillong. He knows the areas in Shillong. They were texting for 1 or 2 months. The person thought that, okay, this person looks genuine. He knows about Shillong. When they made a deal, this person actually said, okay, I'm bringing the bike to Motran, and please send the advance money. So very happily, the victim even sent, 20,000 rupees. After an hour, something, the person said, oh, I'm stuck in a jam. There's a heavy jam from Maoyong to Motran. Please send some more money. You will be getting this bike as soon as I reach Motran. In that pretext, the victim sent around 60,000 rupees. Later he realized that that person was, never even there. It was a fraud profile. When he came to the police, we told him, he's operating from a different state altogether. He had created this whole persona, this whole thing, profile, to show that he was actually operating from nearby Shillong. So that's how these criminals strike on the psyche of the victims and take away their money. Another common fraud we have seen of late in the past 1 year in Shillong is this Amazon Pay or gift certificate fraud, where these criminals, the fraudsters, they act as the head of departments. Okay, now a lot of departments have already kept the details of their personnel or their staff online. So what they do is they create a fake email posing as the HOD, and they send emails to all the staff working in the department. It could be WhatsApp messages also, it could be emails also. Now the victim actually thinks that it's the head of department messaging them, and then the fraudster asks the victim to send Amazon Pay gift certificates to a particular email. And generally these are the range of, they'll say 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, you send 5 certificates or you send 10 certificates. The moment the victim sends that, the fraudster then transfers this money to his e-wallet and then does whatever shopping he has to do at the expense of the victim. We always, when we go for awareness, we always tell the people, please verify who you're talking to. Even if it's your HOD emailing you, there's no problem if you just give him a call and confirm whether it's actually him responding to you. This is an example of a particular case that we had of a particular school where the principal identity was, masked, and then the fraudster sent these sort of messages to the particular teacher, and she actually said that, I don't know how to operate in Amazon. So she sent her ID as well as a password. She created a new ID and password and sent it to him, and immediately this person, created 5 certificates of 5,000 each and transferred it to his email. Thankfully for this teacher, we were able to block this in time, but there have been cases where the victim is too late to inform the police and we are not able to respond in time. Another similar kind of fraud we have is fake cashback offers. Nowadays we have so many offers of cashback, from various firms, and it's important that people, please verify before you check for such offers. Again, it can be either through UPI, it can be through Google Docs. There are various ways in which they can ask money from you. Many times when they send the QR code, okay, they modify the QR code to look as if you are receiving money, but in actuality, you're actually sending the money to him. By the time the victim realizes, money has already been transferred from his account. So we always tell people, especially when you're using UPIs, always remember that if somebody is sending you money, you don't need to enter your MPIN or your UPI PIN. Okay, it's never required for receiving money. It's only required when you have to send money to any other person. Another fraud we are seeing nowadays, when people uh, they use Google to search for customer care numbers. It could be for your mobile companies, it could be for your DTH services, it could be for your any other service, and actually people edit those numbers available online on Google, and they will call the victim and they will tell them, install any of these apps on your mobile phone. The most particular apps that are used that we have seen, there's AnyDesk, there's TeamViewer, there's Quick Support, there's also Screen Share. Now the moment victim installs these apps, then they don't realize that this app duplicates your whatever's happening on your phone on the fraudster's phone. The moment he shares the code, the fraudster is able to see whatever you're doing with your phone, and he'll tell you to access your banking app, your banking application. He'll tell you to access your internet banking website. The moment you do that, you're loading in your username, your password. The fraudster is able to see all this, and immediately he'll use that to log into your system, to log into your your whatever accounts you have, and take away the money that you have stored in your account. So it's very important that whenever you get a call from any customer care number, please don't install any screen sharing app. These could, and the thing is, these apps are all legitimate. Okay, people use them for actually rectification of so many issues, in the corporate world. So we have written many times to Google Play also, that if these apps could be restricted, but then it's not possible. A lot of good is being done through these apps as well. A lot of issues are being addressed. So it's important that victims as such, people as such, are made aware that they don't respond to any such calls by fraudsters. This is a relatively new scam, SIM card swapping fraud. This has happened in other states, and we yet to see this in Meghalaya as such. But you never know, in the future with the increase in technology crimes, this may happen also. So what criminals do is they get a blank SIM card, okay, and they call the victim pretending as a customer care and get all the details from him, okay, saying that to upgrade your SIM card from 3G to 4G. In furtherance of this, they also provide a SIM number, okay, for the victim to send to, and they give them a particular customer care number. The moment the victim forwards this SIM number, he's actually informing the customer care, the customer care that his SIM is not working. the service provider will immediately close the services of that SIM connected with the victim. And the cyber fraudster is now able to replicate, he is able to create a new SIM card in the name of the victim. And through that, he's then able to, that SIM card is maybe the registered mobile number in the bank, and then use that to transfer money from the victim's account to his account. uh, Again, social media is now being used. A lot of people are on social media, and we have seen in Shillong where a lot of people are creating fake social media profiles in the name of victims and using that to send requests, money requests to the people who are in the friend list. So people will actually think that, okay, this person, I know him, he's my friend, and he actually needs some money, and I immediately send money to him. So again, when we go for awareness, we tell them, please keep your privacy settings as my friends only. There's no point keeping your settings public. Before transferring, money, especially if you have received requests through Facebook or WhatsApp, please verify. Please call that person personally and find out first. Verify the authenticity of the message, and always keep your password strong. That always helps to prevent any hacking of your account. Again, another common kind of fraud we have seen affecting young women and children, especially we've seen school going kids, is extortion on Facebook. We had this particular case also in Shillong, a young girl of class 9, and somebody created a fake profile of her friend on Facebook, on Instagram. So she added this friend, they started chatting. She thought that it's her friend who was chatting with her. These after several chats, then the fraudster said that, please, let's have a video chat. And somehow he's able to convince this person, this victim, to have a new video chat. The moment she goes naked, he records everything, and the next thing you know, he's blackmailing this young victim into paying money, or else he will upload all these naked pictures of photos onto a porn website, and then people have to keep sending this money. So we luckily, in this case where this girl came to us, and we were able to prevent any such things from happening. But we never know, there are many cases also which go unreported. People are too, for the fear of stigmatization, they're too scared to come forward to report to the police. So it's important for parents or for teachers who are listening, please give these lessons also in school, because a lot of kids are on social media, especially from the young age of 8 and 9. Everyone is onto Instagram and Facebook. It's important that you're aware who you're making friends with, and to verify all these people. Again, another common fraud we have is catfishing, where people, fraudsters, pose as somebody else. We've seen a lot of women fall trap for this. They are posing as, somebody working in the UK, in the US. They post pictures of people working in the airlines, or people working in the business industry, in the hotel industry. And a lot of women fall for this, and then they say, please send money to us, we're sending you gifts. The the gift is stuck in the customs. Somebody will call them from customs saying that the you know the gift is stuck in the customs, and you have to pay tax. And we have seen victims pay a total of up to even 24-25 lakhs. In this particular case, when we had arrested in Delhi, the victim had paid almost 25 lakhs to these people, and all of them were Nigerians operating from Delhi. So please be very careful, whoever you talk to on social media. Not everybody is your friend. It's not important to have 1,000 friends, even if you have 50 or 100 friends, but you know them personally, you've met them, that is good enough. So this is an example of the kind of messages that they send, and how they entice, especially women or young, ladies, to fall for their trap. Uh, Again, this edited Google customer care, which I've already spoken before, it's important to note that whatever customer care number is shown on Google is not actually verified. There is an option in Google to edit or to change, which is what fraudsters do. They use that edit option to change the number, and they give their own numbers. So when actually you're thinking you're having a problem with your dish TV, you're thinking you're calling Tata Sky, but actually you're talking to a customer and giving all your details away. So please if you have, for example, I'll just take an example of a set-top box. If you have the packet, there's already, the customer care numbers mentioned there. So you call in that number. Don't use Google as your reference service. Okay, you can't trust anything that you see on Google. Ransomware attacks. We have had just one case so far where a person was, I think, navigating through. I think it was not a verified website, and immediately the victims were able to hack into his account. They blocked the access to his whole computer, and they were asking for bitcoins. Okay, it's a new kind of fraud. It's important for people that you don't visit unverified websites or unverified links. Please verify a link before clicking on them. Again, a lottery fraud where people send you emails or SMSs or calls saying that you've won a lottery of 50,000 or 100,000 rupees or 1 lakh or 20 lakhs just to entice you to fall for this lottery. And then they ask for your details, very similar to CVV or OTP sharing. And the moment you give your details, you lose the money. Yeah, so these are the kind of frauds that we have seen mostly happening in Shillong. It's important that people are aware that these kind of frauds are happening. You may think, oh, I'm safe, nothing will happen to me, but it's always important to remember that prevention is better than any cure. Once you transfer money, it's almost next to impossible to get that money back. So that is all I have to share for today. I hope whoever's watching this, they understand the importance of these crimes that are happening in the cyber world. Everyone is into social media, which is a good thing, but please protect yourself. Don't end up being a victim. Protect yourself. Have strong passwords. Know who you're talking to, and don't share your details, especially your banking details, to any stranger. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ban. Indeed, thank you so much for the elaborated and informative presentation. Indeed, everything comes from experience, and Manrab today has spoken from experience. As forgot to mention earlier, he was heading the cybercrime wing, which I am right now. So he speaks with experience, and Manrab will have to wait till the end of the next speaker's session, because we are taking question and answers towards the end of the session. So I request all the viewers, if you have any questions, please post it in the Q&A section. We'll be taking the next with all the questions, and the questions will be forwarded as per the request of the questions that come. So without much further ado, I would like to request the next speaker, Sri Anuj Bansali Ji, who's the head of trust and safety at PhonePe, and decades experience in payments. He will be like to request him to present his lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to just screen share. Give me a second. Is my screen visible? Great. So what I would like to talk about is the frauds that we have seen specifically during COVID, right? While the digital adoption for payments has increased, so have the frauds also increased over a longer period of time. So just about PhonePe, we have close to 275 million registered users. There are 110 million monthly active users. We are crossing close to 1 billion transactions every month, which has close to 16 million merchants across 500 cities. And this has been done by close to 100 million users on a monthly basis. The types of online frauds, I think, most of it has already been covered in the last speaker session. What I would like to focus on is a couple of things. It is essentially in India, the type of frauds that we are seeing are depending on the victim's behavior. So what I mean by that is a lot of it is not very, very tech-savvy frauds. It is either of one of the mechanisms of social engineering in which the victim unwittingly shares a lot of information or access to his own accounts, which ends up leading to certain of some of these frauds. So we have tried to classify into 4 subsegments over here. One is where the victim is sharing the information with the fraudsters. It could be on an email, it could be on a call, it could be through an employment scam. The most common one is the KYC related account verification, that your KYC is for pending foreclosure, and if you do not renew, we will shut down your accounts. The second part of this is basically the fraudsters steal some of this information, either through a spoofing or an identity theft, and again through social engineering. The third is where they basically ask the device of the victim to be compromised. It could be done through, let's say, so while the viruses and trojans or spyware or ransomware is something that we see very, very less as such of these attacks, the most common one involved are the screen sharing apps, where you have these any remote screen sharing app, in which once it is installed, the victim actually is giving away the control of his own device. The last one that we have seen, which is actually one of the most confusing for us when we come from a system perspective, right, to detect and stop, is victim themselves making payments to fraudster. So one, I think, which was just covered earlier was about that getting stuck in a customs, or it is an OLX or a Quicker, where the victim is unwittingly paying to the fraudster. Post some time, they realize that the money is gone, the goods will never get delivered, and or I was supposed to receive money, and this is what has happened. So that often becomes one of the most complex issues for any payment or any fintech companies to solve for, because while everybody would love to solve for based on anomalies, this is effectively the victim himself making the payment out, and hence it becomes very difficult for us to figure out whether this is a fraud transaction versus whether it is a genuine transaction. Coming to the frauds, what we have tried to classify is into 2 different categories. One is your UPI frauds, and the second is card frauds. Probably a couple of years ago, it was related mostly to the card frauds, where it was a compromise of CVV, OTP, card number, and then the money gets used either to a e-wallet company where the wallet top-up is done, or it is done to make a payment to a merchant. So P2M refers to a payment to a merchant. In the last couple of years, where we have seen is the frauds on the UPI side have actually increased a lot more, where you are seeing some of the tech-savvy frauds such as a spoofing or a SIM swapping. Then you have the peer-to-peer, and then you have the peer-to-merchant. Again, without a victim getting involved actively in a fraudulent pattern, none of these would be possible, including the tech ones such as a spoofing or any of these. The ways that we have seen a UPI fraud, right, is basically a request money. Now, a request money could be a collect call, could be a QR code that gets shared, could be a link that gets sent out, or eventually it ends up in convincing me to send money to, let's say, you as a person, and that is where the fraud happens. The complex problem, what Sir was also talking about, is prevention is better than cure, and why, let's say, getting the money becomes very, very difficult, right? I'm just trying to picturize a very, very simple money flow in a peer-to-peer transaction. If you look at this, right, there are at least 10 different interactions with 6 different entities wherein money is getting transferred from you to me. If let's say the acquiring channel or the mobile app is something that I'm as a person sending from my HDFC account to, let's say, your SBI account, these are the number of players which get involved. While each of these players will have certain role to play, a lot of times we do not have enough power or enough visibility in terms of stopping a transaction because of the complexity involved. So there will be a beneficiary bank, there will be a remitter bank, there will be a pay PSP, there will be a payer PSP, there will be NPCI, then there will be a mobile app provider. So PhonePe as a company will be just particular, let's say, this channel, which is the app from where you're initiating a transaction. Your HDFC sends money to an SBI, but the information flows happens between a payer PSP, an NPCI, and a pay PSP as well. And that is where the complexity just goes on increasing. In a merchant case scenario, the complexities go further high. It could be an issuer and an acquirer bank, but at the end of the day, while a customer just enters a PIN, the money gets debited. It goes to a merchant acquiring bank. From there, it goes to the merchant acquirer. From there, it goes to the merchant. So overall, the money flow, anywhere you're looking from 6 to 8 parties in being involved in a fraud, in a normal transaction. And hence, at the time of a fraud transaction, these things become very, very difficult to get because all these flows are built for no manual intervention. All these flows actually correspond to 100% automated system driven interventions. Hence, it becomes very difficult for somebody to retrieve a money. So just coming on the most common kinds of frauds that we are seeing is one of the KYC or the screen recording frauds. The calls are done in terms of your KYC is expiring, or there's a support help that is required. Please download and install a quick support app. Then they would ask the customer to do a 1 rupee sample transaction or a 10 rupee wallet transaction. Most of the victims actually feel that, hey, it is I'm who's transacting the wallet or uploading money to my own account. So that's no risk. What eventually ends up happening is that person is also capturing the PIN that you are entering. That person is also capturing from which bank account you are sending the money. And the moment they will keep you busy on a phone call, while you are on the phone call, they will transact behind you using your phone app itself. And that is, even if they start an OTP based transaction, which is, let's say, from a credit card or a debit card, since you are on the phone, you might receive a beep, which is an SMS coming in. Most of the apps are already built to even auto read the SMS. Your transaction will just go through. This is something that we saw during the recent lockdown where the RBI moratorium was announced. We started seeing a spike on the card frauds, where a lot of these fraudsters started up calling saying that we are calling from your bank or from your RBI and to increase your moratorium limit or increase, let's say, no interest being paid across. Here is how you want, you will need to authorize us. Once you authorize, then only we will be able to increase these limits out. They would either send out a collect call on a UPI, or they would ask somebody to do a merchant transaction using a card itself, or get the card number and the OTP, and that's how people end up losing money. This one was a problem to quite a big extent. Maps or a search fraud, I think it still remains. We worked with Google as well to make sure that some of these listings get taken down. But as I was telling, I think one of the most common ways is they will go and edit the Google Maps listing. They will create fake search numbers. We have even seen the frauds going to an extent where they are doing paid ad listings. Effectively, it is they're making sure that it comes as a number 1 or a number 2 search when you're searching for a customer care for any of the top or the popular websites. I have also seen certain cases. I think I got a call from Jalandhar Police or Punjab Police at some point in time, in which they had set up 1-800 numbers as well, in which when you call, there is a proper automated response time, and they will say, thank you for calling. So right now, all customer agents are busy, and they will give you a call back. Within 5 minutes, when you press that, give me a call back, you will receive a call. They will ask you for all the details. And again, that's how you will end up losing money. I think it is very, very critical that you understand what are the official support numbers. Make sure that it is coming from a website which is of the owner of that website, not a fake website or not just a random Google search. Reseller fraud or the OLX quicker fraud, again, one of the most common ones. People end up, this even happened to me, just FYI. So I had a posting and I ended up getting a call from somebody within 5 minutes of posting the ad, which definitely shows that the fraudsters are more automated than even the fraud detection systems that companies are putting in place. And they called up within 5 minutes saying that I am an army guy, I'm traveling, I would like to make a payment. And there is one guy who has already left the place to collect the sofa that you are selling. Then they would end up sending a QR code, which they are asking you to make a payment. Well, of course, I didn't fall for that one, but we have seen these kind of frauds happening to a lot more people. At the end of the day, what people also have to understand, like any NEFT, IMPS transaction or an RTGS transaction, there is no need for you to authorize anything. If, let's say, you were to ask somebody to give you money, using a bank account, people would just end up transferring. They are never going to ask you to authorize that, hey, I'm sending you this RTGS, please authorize, unless other than that, you will not receive the funds. Same goes for the process of a UPI or a QR code. It doesn't change the process. You're not supposed to enter your PIN. Just decline the request. In PhonePe, you will also get an option that you block any future request from the incoming collector. So you can actually block so that no further requests can come from the same account. The social engineering is going to another level, which is what we just saw, that people are creating fake profiles. They will befriend people same in your friend list. Then they will start sending out, may even request on Facebook as the actual profile to be a fake profile. We have even seen this being done in terms of law enforcement profiles, where people are creating fake law enforcement profiles as well, and say that, hey, I'm stuck somewhere, I am not reachable on phone, please send me this money immediately. What people don't, and the operating standards is very simple. The out of 100 people, even if 2 people fall for it, let's say they will ask you for a 4,000 or a 5,000, which you don't think is a big amount. The minute you send that amount, they will again, within an hour, they will come back saying, hey, I require more money. Can you send me now 15,000? So it is much better that you do verify. Money being sent out will not get returned. So that is something which people will have to be very, very aware of. This one, again, we saw a huge spike around the month of June, July, where there were a lot of one-page fake websites or fake VPS being created. One was just in the name of, let's say, there could be a big billion day sale.com or a sale.xyz, where you are trying to sell even an iPhone for a 64,000 for 6,400. People end up falling for that. Please do verify which website you are paying to. What are you paying to? If an original website is not doing that, do not fall for that. This is a fake website, or there is a deal website that only you are lucky to get to. They are actually banking on it. The reason why this is accelerated out of control is also for another reason, that people have started using advertising platforms. So while earlier they would create a fake website, which they would try to target as a one-on-one, now they have changed the modus operandi to advertise on a Facebook, on a LinkedIn, on a Google Ads, where they are actually advertising some of these websites. There are certain browsers which will also send you push notifications. So on your phone, you are seeing that a push notification that you have just won a cashback. When you click on it, it is taking you to, let's say, a fake website, which is using the brand logos, etc. But then they are completely fake things. So you will see, even we have seen people creating fake handles, which is, let's say, from a PM Cares Fund to Ram Mandir Bhumi, where people are creating such fake websites. I think the first thing that you need to check where you are sending the money. You get a registered name on most of the apps, whether it is a PM Cares or where you are seeing this as a, let's say, Akhil, which is just using the VPA handle for illicit gains. So that is something you need to verify. Who are you sending the money to? A registered name will always come in. Make sure that you check that registered name so that you do not end up sending money to a fake person or a con man. Card phishing OTP, I think it's a age-old practice. There is nothing much that coming new in terms of modus operandi, but effectively it's the same thing. Your card is getting expired. We will help you renew it. Your card limit is something that we can help increase. Give us the OTP, give us the card number, and that is where you end up falling for this. There are a couple of other initiatives that we work with as PhonePe as a company with Ministry of Home Affairs. CyberSafe is one of them. Cybercrime Portal is another of them. We work with TRAI as well to make sure that these calls get reduced, these frauds get reduced. That is something that we keep continuously working with different law enforcement agencies. That's all from my end. All right. Happy to take any questions that we might have.
Thank you, Sir Anuj. It was indeed a very informative presentation. Of course, you'll be working in that sector, you'll be more acquainted with the facts and the cases. As of now, we don't have any questions, but I feel that the topic of today was and our target audience is students. So processing that thing might take time. So I speak with experience because I've had such sessions. Indeed, we are every like you and the earlier speaker had said, prevention is better than cure, and I'm a firm believer on that. And one thing I would like to uh, to point out here is to our audience is uh, don't believe that anything that you see, and everything that you see is not true, right? So that is there. And heading this cybercrime wing, we come across a lot of complaints every day. And one thing, don't be shy in reporting. The key to the failure in any investigation, even my earlier speaker, your earlier speaker, my colleague Mandrablang Jirwa, he will also agree that the delay in reporting is it gives a big chance to the criminals. That is there. I'm awaiting some questions. There are some participants, but
Shabir sir, if I may ask one
oh, sure,
question
sure,
on
sure,
behalf
ma'am.
of the audience. Okay. So Anuj sir and Jarva sir, any one of you can answer. I just wanted to know that do banks call for few things, or any call that comes to us that they're from bank is a fraud?
Uh, I'd like to first let us hear from our DSP City Iskasiels, what he has to has from the state.
So banks may call you. There is no, rule as such that banks will not call you. For example, even I have received calls from banks asking for, if do you want to take a loan, or, do you want to apply for certain things. But banks will never ask for your credentials. They'll never say, sir, you need to update your details, your KYC or things like that, or that your account has been blocked, or that your ATM is blocked. Please send us your ATM pins or your CVV and all those things. They may call you to update on their latest um, they may have some new proposals or things like that that may attract your interest, but it'll never be about asking your personal details. I think maybe so Anuj might also
Yeah,
say
I
on
would
that.
request Anuj sir to some value add to this.
Yeah, I
whatever.
agree. See, banks will end up calling. It's not like none of the companies will not call customers. A couple of things to keep in mind. Most of the times, the fraudsters will always try to create an artificial pressure that do it now, do it right now. I think stop the resistance for following something that's a very, very urgent. B, if in doubt, always leave this channel, go to your physical bank. It might take you an hour or a couple of hours more. At the end, that is more important than, let's say, running around once your money is gone out. B, if you are in doubt, always consult someone. It could be a friend of yours. It could be, let's say, some relative of yours. It could be let's say, calling on the bank channel itself. But never ever fall that, sir, if you do not accept this right now, we will, because what they end up doing is create an artificial panic. And that artificial panic is something which we end up taking the wrong decisions. That is something that we will always have to be aware of.
Right,
Right.
Anuj sir, thank you so much. I think Jarva sir, that answers our question. Another question that I have, Shabir sir, if you allow, I'll just
Yes, yes,
ask
yes.
on
Yes,
behalf of
please.
it. This is purely on behalf of the audience, so that both of us, both of our honorable speakers spoke about something called as social engineering. I mean, to me, it seems to a layman, it seems like something related to engineering. What exactly is social engineering?
I would request Anuj sir to take this so that, and then Banrap can value add the question.
Sure. Social engineering is all about convincing a person, right? So what it involves is, if I'm a fraudster, right? without having a conversation with you. See, it is the age-old conman practice, right? Any movies that you look into, any TV series that you look into. At the end of the day, I am effectively trying to influence you to either share out the details or take an action which will end up in me gaining from at the cost of you. So at the end of the day, what social engineering is, plain and simple, is me trying to convince you to part out with your credentials or with your money. That's plain and simple.
So basically, anything that shines is not gold.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jairus sir, your inputs on this?
Yeah, you've taken this. Yeah, I think Anuj sir has given the perfect, explanation. Anything and anyone that, that just wants to take your credentials, they want to take your details just to part away with your money. Simply that is social engineering. Could be a simple email, it could be a message, it could be a call, it could be any form of, communication to try and entice you to part with your money. That is social engineering.
Thank you, Banrap. So now there's a question. Finally, there's a question from the audience. There are two questions. I'll take with the first one. This is from Madhurima Singh. And the question is, what is uniquely different between debit card and credit card fraud? Maybe Anuj sir can take this question.
Sure. So nothing unique between a debit card or a credit card fraud. Debit card would effectively just limit your liability in terms of what money you have in the bank account. So that gets wiped out. In a credit card, your liability goes further up. So that is the effective challenge. So there is a process of chargeback on all cards. But unfortunately, since 99.99% of your transactions are done through a two-factor of authentication, which is an OTP plus, let's say, the CVV and the card number. So that would become mute, and hence we end up becoming liable. In a credit card fraud, you end up becoming much more liable. In case of credit cards, where it gets misused also is on international transactions. Thankfully, RBI has been very proactive, and hence they have reduced the international exposure of cards by regulation itself, unless a consumer requests for it. In case of an international transaction, normally the OTP itself is not required, and hence credit card becomes much more prone to a fraudulent transactions than a debit card.
Thank you so much, sir. The one question which is, I think so, it's directed to you only because it's related to PhonePe. And the question is from Shubham Sampat Kumarji. The question, the query has said, his put up is, recently I got a call from PhonePe and claiming a reward of 4,000 rupees, but I have not received any on my PhonePe. And how does it happen?
Yeah, so the way these guys actually do this is they will pick up random numbers. Now, as I told you, right, given the size of the population that we have close to 275 million or 250 million as customers in itself. It is basically throwing a stone and see where it hits. So they would randomly call and say that, sir, we are giving a cashback from PhonePe. The customer, if they have an account, right, they would end up saying, okay, tell me. Then they will raise a collect request to you. Effectively, once that collect request comes to you, they're saying that, hey, this is the money you are receiving. It is a fire and a hit and a miss approach, but probably 5 out of 6 times it will hit rather than a miss.
Right. Thank you, sir. Now a question to both our speakers. An interesting question from Madhurima Singh ji. And the question is, how do fraudsters know that I have taken a loan from some bank along with the specific amount? It's an interesting question because I have come across such cases. Sir can know better because I don't think so. Manrap will have an idea of banking.
I thought it would come from you, given that you've seen some cases. So this becomes very, very specific in terms of loan inquiries or the exact loan amount. Some of these, I can't comment on a specific because I don't know which bank is. Sometimes we have seen even customer support agents who have access to some of these details, or even your bank partners who might have some access to them. A few rogue, so therefore not trying to malign anybody over here or any even the industry over here. A few rogue people will have some of this access where they are trying to figure out, okay, you have taken a loan. Now, in case, let's say if the loan is not been repaid, what happens is a lot of times this gets passed on to third-party agencies. While banks as well as most of the companies will have very, very tight security norms in terms of what data gets shared, the moment it is out for a debt recollection, that agency is effectively, it might get leaked from there. It might be various other reasons where it is getting leaked from. Unfortunately, I don't have a very straightforward answer. How does it get leaked out? It depends on which bank, what location, etc.
Thank you, sir. You put it very nicely, but I hope everyone understood. I have understood how it happens, but yeah, you have to be diplomatic in your answer. You cannot directly name any banks, right? So we don't have any questions, and with this, probably we've come to the end of today's session. Once again, I would thank Manrab Langjurwa, my colleague from the force, and Sir Anuj Mansali from PhonePe. Thank you so much for joining us today, enlightening us so much. I hope, like I have said earlier, digital literacy has increased today many folds, and one appeal again to our audience: if you have any questions, if please join us, because it is a joint endeavor of CyberPeace Foundation and Meghalaya Police to create more and more awareness among people. There's a there's a way of putting it prevention. Today's clause, today's quote will be prevention is better than cure. And what I would put it is, do your part, be cyber smart. Thank you so much, both of you. I wish both of you a very good day, and all our speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Come on, man. Uh, I would like to take this question. What's still
Sure, Shabir sir.
Google Pay safe or not? Banrab is still joining us. You can say. You can answer this. Yeah.
The fact is, there's so many UPI apps. We have Google Pay, we have Phone Pay. I think there was a recent notification by RBI, like not to use Google Pay, especially because they're still working out ways and means to bring them regularization of Google Pay as such. People are using it. I'm not saying that it's not secure, but a lot of fraudsters also tend to use Google Pay because it's easy to convince people to transfer money. So I think when you look at the security and everything of Google Pay, it has the same features as what Phone Pay or Paytm will have. It all depends on the particular user, which application he wants to use. For now, I think the government is asking people to rely on the Bhim application, because even if you have any problems, it can be rectified. You have somebody to address to. Google Pay as such, again, and Phone Pay, Phone Pay and Paytm. But if with Google Pay, if you have some problems, getting answers or getting anything queries, replying from Google will take a long time. So might as well avoid Google Pay then.
We opt for a local intermediary than someone who is away.
Yeah.
So that's what that way is. It's like if you're buying any electronic gadget, we always prefer that the service center is near, right?
Yeah.
So,
Perfect analogy.
so if the service center is near, likewise, if we know that these local intermediaries like PhonePe, Paytm, or Bhim, they are from India. So if there are any issues, we can take up with our counterparts in the states and the center, right? Thank you.
Right. So if I may add to this,
Yeah,
it is
please.
always safe to use anything and everything on your gadgets until unless you are aware of how fraudsters can hamper or take note of your details. A very strong password would work, having a proper antivirus on your systems would work, and then you're good to go for anything. And do not click on any suspicious links that is sent to you, as both our honorable speakers mentioned. Anything that shines is not gold. Obviously, so don't get lured by any of these social engineering tactics of the fraudsters, and that should suffice. Jarva sir, hope I'm right. Shubi sir, hope I'm
Absolutely. Spot on. So I think today this is it for today. Any other questions? If there are any questions, you can post it in the group. We will, our panelists and our representatives from CPF and Meghalaya Police will be very happy to answer on it, respond to that. Thank you so much for that. Shimoni ma'am, I think so. This is it for today.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, sir.